Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I get to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our community. What did they do to get started? And what are they doing to stay there? Oh my goodness, here we are bringing you another special guest. Is today I'm getting to talk to Sara Stoub. Sara is a senior talent acquisition specialist at Higginbotham. And Sara, I'm so excited to have you on the show. How you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm excited to have you too. I always like to start the show kind of reflecting on when I met my guests or when they came in to my path. And for you, we met a long time ago through
Forever.
through Dallas HR and also the DFW SMA organization that you're very involved in. And then recently we connected at the HR Southwest conference. Do you remember like the first time we connected at Dallas HR?
I think so. It's got to be one of the luncheons, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember getting introduced to you through Bronwyn Allen and Callie Miller, and yeah, and we just hit it off. And I was like, "This guy is awesome." I was like, "You were like you knew everybody, and just networking and introduced me to so many people that I wouldn't have met otherwise."
I remember what stuck out about you is your energy. And people have said that about me. I just feel like energy, people like just notice that. You
Mhm.
always bring a smile and just a sense of energy. Recently had a great conversation at the HR Southwest conference. That's a lot of fun.
It was.
And so I said, hey, let's get you on the show. Let's talk leadership here. So I cannot wait to have a conversation. I mentioned you work for Higginbotham. I would love for you, just for those who don't know who Higginbotham is, I don't know, maybe share a brief highlight of your organization and maybe how you serve your customers.
So Higginbotham, we are a insurance brokerage firm. So we started off super small here in downtown Fort Worth. It was a mom and pop shop, just a single location, and now we're the 20th largest insurance brokerage firm here in the United States. We're in 17 states, coast to coast, primarily in the southern portion of the United States, but growing. We have roughly over 130 offices now, and 3,500 employees and counting. So, and what I do for the organization, as you mentioned, I'm a talent acquisition specialist, but I handle anything and everything in the financial services side of our business, which includes employee benefits. And I also serve our accounting and finance employees, just bringing top talent into the organization. So, we have commercial lines or business insurance, employee benefits and financial services, HR services, as well as private and personal lines. So we try to be our clients kind of one-stop shop for all their insurance and financial services needs.
I love that. And we're going to get into your story. I know that one of the things that I've been fascinated with is that you have served both on the agency side as well as the corporate side. And so I definitely want to get into that. But so let's kick this off. Like I know you and I know
Yeah.
a lot about you, but I bet I know there's probably some things I don't know about you. I would love for you to share the Sarah Staub story. Like, where did you grow up and how in the world, like, what led you to the world of talent acquisition and leadership?
Well, I'm actually from Justin, Texas. So went to high school over there at Northwest High School when it was tiny, right? So when I think about it, it's this like tiny little town, no, not a whole lot of anything really. But if you go there now, I mean, there's like what, like five, like 6A high schools and all this other stuff. Very different. But my journey in talent acquisition really was I kind of fell into it, to be flat out honest with you. I didn't know what a recruiter was outside of a military recruiter or someone who recruited like professional athletes into like the NFL or the NBA. That was it. I had no idea. And I was at Texas Tech, go Red Raiders. And I wanted to be in medicine my whole career. I have a bachelor's degree in human development, biology, and a minor in chemistry. And that's what I wanted to do. I was doing an internship at the medical school there, and I was following this doctor around. And I'm not an overly I'm an excited person, like you said. I have a lot of energy,
Hmm.
but I'm not an overly like emotional person. Like when people cry, I'm like, oh, do you need a hug? I don't know what to do. For whatever reason, God just had it in His plans that four people had lost their life that day, and we were going around and we were speaking with the families, and I couldn't get it together. Like I'm bawling, I'm hugging these people, and I'm like, I don't know you, but you need a hug, and I'm so sorry. Like I mean, I didn't know anything besides what was on the chart. And just from there, the doctor looked at me and he was like, ma'am, you're going to have to either kind of get it together or maybe you should really kind of rethink your career opportunities and your career path. And that was the defining moment for me. I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't want to do this. And I was 2 weeks out from graduating.
Wow.
Yeah. So imagine my mom's shock. That was interesting for her, my whole life. This is what I wanted to be in the medical field in some way, shape, or form. I can totally see myself working in a hospital setting, clinical setting. And yeah, I had to call her and I'm like, I'm not doing this. And she's like, oh, okay. So are we hit like a 20, like 22, 23-year-old life crisis? Like what's happening? And so I called my career counselor at Tech and I was like, hey, you haven't seen me in 4 years, but I just dropped out of my internship and I don't know what to do. I've never quit anything before in my life. I said, like, well, there's going to be a career fair tomorrow. The School of Business is having a career fair. Come in today, meet with me. Let's go. Let's build some kind of resume for you. Because I put myself through college. I worked at Cavender's Western Outfitter selling boots to people and did all that fun stuff. And so I was like, well, I guess I could just see what happens.
Hmm.
And I walked in. I felt super unprepared. I had no idea what employers were going to be there. And I walked up to this booth and it was Aerotech. And at the time, Aerotech was one of the nation's largest privately held staffing firms in the US.
Okay.
They were huge, they were global, they had multiple different entities. And I just like, I looked lost probably. And I like wandered into their
Can
booth and I was
I?
like, hi, I don't know what I want to do, but here's my resume. My name's Sarah. Just kind of floundered through the whole thing. And the recruiter pulled me aside and was like, well, kind of same thing. Like, tell me about yourself. Why, it looks like you were on the track to go to med school. And I was like, well, I love people. I've always been in like a customer service sales type of role. I've waited tables. Like I said, I've worked in retail. I love helping people, feel better about themselves or have a good experience. And they were like, you should probably think about recruiting. And I was like, well, I don't
Hmm.
want to go into the military. And they were like, no, let me explain this to you. And so they met with me the next day and they told me that they were starting up and really trying to get off the ground a scientific division. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I could use my education and my brain, but no one has to die. I was like, this is a great thing. And that's what prompted me into talent acquisition. And I absolutely fell in love with it.
That is fantastic. I
It's
have not
weird.
heard that story. That is like I can just imagine what your mom was feeling like you all this investment into the medical field, and then all of a sudden you're like, I think I'm going to make a change here.
Oh yeah, completely shocked. Like my siblings were shocked. I'm one of six, right? And so all my siblings were like, "Wait, what? Like, are you okay? Do we need to come see you?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna figure it out."
Yeah.
And we did.
I love that. I love all of that. There's so much here. I just, first and foremost, the first thing I wrote down was you showed up though. Like
Oh
as
yeah.
soon as you made a change, you're like, hey, I need to do something. And I always talk about a lot of people think about doing things, but the first thing you got to do is you got to show up. You said, I'm unprepared. I'm sitting here thinking of Sarah's being very vulnerable here. Like she's just like, hey, I'm just going to go see where this takes me. Where did that come from though? Because I mean, I think a lot of people might just go and hide or just, go into underground for a little while. But you said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go see what's out there. Where did that come from?
My mom, I've always been super confident in my ability to do things.
Mm,
And it comes from my mom. My mom was a single mom for most of my life and, raising us girls. And she was like, you've got to do it. Like, no
mm,
one's going to do it for you. No one's going to show up. Like, if you don't put yourself out there and try, you're never going to know. And that's how she raised us. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? They can tell you no. I'm like, well, I guess, I mean, people tell me no all the time, right? Especially like at Cavender's. I'm like, no, ma'am, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. So what's the worst thing they could do is tell me no
mm.
here.
So your recruiting career began and
Yeah.
begins up, by the way. My daughter went to Texas Tech, as you know.
Yes.
And so your recruiting career, like, okay, so here you go. Here you're on
Mhm.
the journey. I always like to ask my guests around like people that have like, I don't know, they've helped them on their journey. We call them mentors, we call them
Mhm.
sponsors, we call them business partners. Who are maybe a couple of people that maybe helped you on your journey? And I always like to know like what was it about them that made them a great mentor? Were there some people that involved to help you on your way?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I wouldn't be where I'm at without what I call my personal board of directors,
Hmm.
if you will. And so I run a lot of my like life decisions, by them, whether it's personal or professional. The first person is Anthony Patricio. We met, he played football at Texas Tech
Hmm.
a couple of years before I was there, but actually met at Aerotech. He was at this point he was in national sales. And funny story, Shonda Parker, my old partner at High Profile, she was actually his boss at Aerotech when he first graduated. So it's so funny how people are all connected. Somehow I started working on a couple searches for him and his team and what he was trying to build, and we just clicked. And I had so many questions about different entities of the business and how I should approach certain things. I was just so green. And he took me under his wing
Hmm.
and really mentored me. A lot of tough love. And he's like, Sarah, he's like, why would you do this? You need to do this. He's very driven individual. He now owns his own staffing firm that does like IT and engineering staffing, Spira Solutions, and I'm super proud of him. And we still stay in contact to this day. It's crazy. His daughters are at tech, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like wow, this is. I feel really old, but also like I remember when they were tiny little babies.
Hmm.
So being a part of each other's life has been wonderful. And then Jacqueline May. So Jacqueline and I, she went to tech, another Red Raider, and but we didn't know each other then, even though we probably have should have at that point with the same people we knew and all that. She also went to Aerotech after graduation. And I worked on a lot of searches for her and her just like pouring into me. And again, I was so green. I really did not know anything about the business world. I had no idea. And she just, again, took me under her wing and she was like, okay, like how to handle yourself as a woman in business, especially in staffing. We just became lifelong friends,
Hmm.
as well as, like I said, a personal board of directors. Like we run almost everything by each other.
Hmm.
It's crazy. And then she actually recruited me to High Profile.
Hmm.
I called her when I was at Coca-Cola and I said, I'm so burned out. I'm just a number here. It's, Coca-Cola's a wonderful company, but it's huge. I mean, you're just a little
Hmm.
number. And they had an opening at High Profile and she recruited me over. And then the other two people that I really have so much respect for and love listening to how they lead, and I've learned so much for them are my two of my old bosses, Bronwyn Allen, the CEO of High Profile
Hmm.
Staffing, and Kelly Miller, the president. Um, and they're both wonderful, wonderful women. And they both challenged me and pushed me and helped me kind of think outside my box, right? Because
Hmm.
I think everyone gets pretty tunnel vision in their way of thinking and how they see situations or the world or whatever the case may be. And they are just so wonderful with giving me different lenses and
Hmm.
different opportunities to stretch and grow. And I owe a lot to the two of them, that's for sure.
I love that. I love how you said board of directors. I've had many guests frame it up like that. We all need board of directors. I wrote down board of directors. I have a board of directors. I continue to talk about that. So if you're listening right now, you're taking notes, write down board of directors. Make sure you put some names under those and make sure they know they're part of your board of directors and they
Yeah.
will actually just lift you like no other. I love all of that. I want to ask you though, like, okay, so you decide, and by the way, Bronwyn and Callie are both former guests on the show, and so I
Yes,
appreciate
they
you giving them a
are.
shout out. I want to ask you though, because a lot of times when we pivot, so you're sitting here, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be a doctor here. I'm gonna now all of a sudden you're going to be a recruiter, and people are
Mhm.
helping you on this journey. When I wrote the book Find Your Lane, I was talking about when you really find something that you really enjoy doing, it just looks different, it feels
Mhm.
different, the relationships are different, and you've definitely found your lane.
Mhm.
But was there like a moment when you found your lane, your purpose, your calling? Did you like once you kind of got into it? Was there a moment you said, like this is it," or
Mhm.
were there moments that led up to that? Talk about that for a second.
Absolutely. Which I wish I would have had your book when I first graduated college. That's for sure. It's one of my favorite books, Find Your Lane, because it would have helped me really kind of dial in.
Mm,
I have two, little side story, but I have a couple, two nephews and a niece that are all in high school. And
mm.
I went ahead and actually purchased your book to give to them for their graduation gifts. Because I was like, you have got to read this book before you go to college.
Thank
Learn from
you.
your aunt's mistakes. Yeah, I think it was my third placement I ever made at Aerotech.
Okay.
And at Aerotech, yes, it's a staffing firm, and I was a part of the scientific division, but we worked heavily, heavily, heavily on commission.
Mm,
And so in order to, make a living wage, you had to place outside of your division. And so I placed people in accounting roles, finance roles, administrative roles. And this one administrative role, I will never forget it as long as I live. It was a single mom. And being raised by a single mom, it's always, you always have that kind of bleeding heart, I guess, if you will. And you're
hmm
like, you know what, I'm going to help you because I know how hard it is, just from watching it. And yeah, she was my third placement. And she called me the night before crying because her car wouldn't start. And she's like, if I don't, and with a lot of contract rules, like if you don't, at least back in the day, if you didn't show up on your first day, like we couldn't work with you, or no matter what the situation was, right? And I looked at he was my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, and I was like, I'm gonna go pick up this woman for work. And he was like, what? Excuse me? And I was like, I'm gonna go get her. I was like, I think she's a good person. And he was like, this is a terrible decision, Sarah. And I was like, no, I believe in her. I've heard her. Like I've listened to her story. I know how bad she needs
mm
this job. And I went and I drove from our house in Euless that we were renting all the way down to like South. I think it was like South Mansfield. Like before Mansfield was built out, it kind of went from like a highway down to like it was 2-lane road. Picked her up and took her to work, while I don't know if it was her dad or significant other helped fix her car. I think it was the battery or something minor that
hmm
needed fixing. She ended up going permanent. She got promoted 3 times, and we still keep in contact. She was like, "You changed my life," and I was like, this is what it's all about: helping someone, find your lane like you did,
mm
but also help them find what energizes them, what not only what puts food on their table, but what is going to fulfill them long term, right? And finding that passion in other people is it's just something that it just lit a fire in me, and here we are, almost 18 years later.
I love that. I have
Yeah.
chills here. I want to
Mhm.
cry. That was a great story, and what a testimony
Mhm.
to, you finding your lane, the joy in your career, to help others, to give others hope is what I like
Mhm.
to say, helping other people every day. And that is what you do. This is so good. I love
Yeah,
that. Thank you for sharing that story. There's
of
people
course.
listening right now that's like, I needed to hear that.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
that's very helpful. Hey, let's talk talent acquisition here. Let's talk recruiting.
Yeah.
I always like that. Yeah, I know that you enjoy helping people through, through talent acquisition. I mean, I can just feel that your conviction for that. But I'm curious, like, I don't know. Let's talk challenges here. I know that
Mhm.
2024, we've just entered 2024, we're into 2025. What's the landscape like right now? Are companies looking to hire talent right now? And what are some of the, I don't know, maybe some of the challenges that you find yourself facing, that maybe some common threads?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think the main thing with talent acquisition, no matter if you're on the agency side or the corporate side, is knowing your market. That's the
Mm,
number one challenge I see when I talk to recruiters, and candidates who just don't. They're frustrated. Maybe they're not finding the right talent. They're not finding their groove. But I feel like you have to immerse yourself in your market,
mm,
and find out where people lie. What companies in that particular market are doing. Because we can talk nationally, and I do recruit nationally, but you have to kind of dial that in, I think, a little bit per search, per thing. And so being able to navigate, number one, knowing your market and then navigating it.
mm,
It is always changing. It goes, we talk a lot in TA about going from a candidate-driven market to a employer-driven market and being
mm-hmm,
able to navigate those swings. And sometimes it swings real fast, like during the pandemic, March 2020 the bottom fell out, right? And
mm-hmm,
everyone's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Everyone was laid off. And everything literally shut down. And then in 2021, it came back with a vengeance. But it was all candidate driven now. So the candidates had the power and they were like, no, I'm not going to go into an office for A, B, and C reason, or I'm not going to do something for this amount of money, or I
mm,
need to, have these demands for whatever the case may be. But employers were taking it, and they were like, "Yeah, absolutely, okay, perfect. They're a great candidate. Let me be flexible here, or let me be flexible here." Then, as we started slowly but surely climbing out of the pandemic, employers started swinging that pendulum back to being an employer-driven market, saying, "Oh, well, if you're not going to come in." maybe you should look for other employment. Or, hey, this is the project that we have. I know you're passionate about this type of work, but you're hired and you're put on this type of project now. So being able to navigate those things, I think that's the constant and biggest battle within talent acquisition.
Mm,
As of right now, it's, with it being an election year, well, 2024 was an election year. So I think people
mm,
were very tight maybe with their hires. Like they put candidates through a lot of different paces to ensure that this was their golden ticket or this was the right one. Because it does cost a lot of money to hire somebody, right?
mm,
Whether it's on the corporate side, agency side, either way, hiring an individual person costs a lot of money and costs a lot of time.
mm,
And so really vetting them, I think was the employer's way of kind of swinging that market. I mean, going through like 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds of interviews, depending on the level, that's
mm,
exhausting. So I think navigating that, and then also just that continuing education piece from a challenging aspect with hiring managers, whether they're new hiring managers, they're older hiring managers, they've been in the market a while, educating them on what you're seeing and positioning yourself as as a recruiter to be the expert in that field and say, hey, if we look at this market, we look at this data, this is the type of candidate. Or if we run a search, say in LinkedIn, and you're like, okay, you're in, oh goodness, I don't know, Paducah, Kentucky, right? And
mm,
you want, a laundry list of things. So you can go through and you can actually show your hiring managers and be that education and that expert to say, hey, yeah, you want this laundry list of things. There's no one in a 50-mile radius that matches all of
mm.
this. Let's pare this down, and really being that consultative person for your particular hiring group or hiring managers, and make yourself to be that industry expert by education. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
this is so good. I love all of this. I'm sitting here. I've got two things written down that I want to ask you questions around. Before that, I'm sitting here thinking too. Like, okay, so you started out on the agency side. Here you are on the corporate side. I don't know what is there really a difference? Because you're recruiting for the company, or you're recruiting for the company as in the agency, and then as a corporate recruiter, you're recruiting for the company in the corporate. Is there much of a difference there?
Yes and no. I would say, on the agency side, I mean, you have, hundreds of different clients, and your job on the agency side is to hopefully be an extension of their HR team,
Hmm.
and of their hiring managers, right? And so you have to very, very quickly get up to speed on their culture, their mission, their vision, their values, and really be able to match make, I think, on the agency side. And you have to do it very quickly but sometimes with huge resources, sometimes very minimal. Just really depends. And depends on the market. And then on the corporate side, you're still doing that, but all of your hiring managers are internal, right? So you have to really believe in your culture, be able to sell the culture, be able to sell that
Mm.
hiring manager. So you're still doing that dance. It's just a little different. I think on the agency side, you can be, I'm probably aggressive is might be the better word. Maybe myself.
Sure.
I could push a little harder. I could be like, no, the market is saying this, and this. On the corporate side, you really have to know your leaders, right? Your hiring
Yeah.
managers, and educate, right? And know and do that dance just a little softer, I think. And hear what they're saying, right? A lot of my hiring managers have been with the organization 10, 15, 20 years. They know insurance. They know this landscape. I'm new to insurance. I know people well. I've been doing this for a long time, but I don't know insurance, right? So hearing them and
Mm.
educating myself and having them know that I think they're an industry expert, they're my subject matter expert, they're the people that I'm going to go to with technical questions, but have them also have that buy-in with me and kind of sell myself as the people expert. So I
Mm.
can eventually, hopefully, be their strategic talent acquisition business partner. And so it's a group effort to find the right people for our company, not me find this for you. Kind of a situation.
I love that. And I noticed you used the word believe. You really have to believe in the culture, in the
Mhm.
organization, a little bit different belief there. And I noticed your company just won an award, I think, for best company to work for. Is that right? Or
Yes, yes, we won the best place to work, or the Business Insurance
yeah,
Journal awarded us
yeah.
best places to work in 2024, like the absolute number one spot. So we were
That's
pumped.
Yeah, so I mean that's gotta make it easier, not easy, but easier for you
Mhm.
to bring them in the company. I want to ask you a couple of questions. First question I want to ask you is about influence. I think influence has got to be a big thing for you because you have to not only sell the employee or the candidate, sell the
Mhm.
candidate into the organization, but also your business unit managers and working within the organization to try to influence them on someone that you might believe in. Talk
Mhm.
about Talk about that. I want to know, like, what was it like? You moved from the agency side to the corporate side. Now, not only do you need to learn a little bit about the organization, you know how to recruit, but developing influence. How did you like develop that trust among your employees to where they say, "Hey, you know what? We believe in Sarah and everything she's doing." Talk about the power of influence and how you were able to do that.
I think influence is huge. I mean, you have to have it as a recruiter or at any level in the TA space, really and truly, or else it kind of falls flat. And so for me, I'm a people person, clearly. I love shaking people's hand. Like let me get to know you and get to know you as a human
Mm.
being. And so when we'll have these intake meetings, yes, this search is pretty similar to all the other ones, but it's different for that particular hiring manager because that this role is going to support them or support their team. So I need to get to know them and their team and say, hey, what is going to work? What is your leadership style like? Like, what grinds your gears about employees or about recruiters? And really kind of tailoring it to make it more of a custom fit for them. So that way, if they, say they see somebody on paper, and I'm a firm believer, is if you have to get to know the whole person from a candidate perspective. So yes, qualifications are qualifications. They're the black and white things on the resume. But we hire the gray, right? I mean, is this personality going to mess or mesh well with your team? Are they, are they able to take on things above their pay grade, right? Do you want them to be able to stretch, or do you want someone to just kind of know their role and stay in their box?
Mm.
Right. So getting to know them, and also matching that with the employee and having those conversations. Like I had a candidate the other day who she could 100% do this job. Has she done it for 15 years before? No, she hadn't. Um, getting with that hiring manager and be like, hey, you wanted someone who has executive presence. You want someone who can communicate with all levels of the organization, who has done A, B, C, D, and E. And I was like,
Mm.
look at this person. I was like, look at the whole person. I was like, look at her backgrounds. Hey, here's her LinkedIn profile. I was like, these are the types of conversations that I've had, and here's why you need to meet with them, and really kind of giving them the why behind it. And they were
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, now that you told me that, of course. So why wouldn't I want to meet them? I was like, exactly.
Yeah. I love
So
that.
being able to leverage that, but I think really that influence just stems from being having that custom tailored approach with every single hiring manager until you know their team like the back of their hand, and then we can start talking about, hey, this is why you're not going to hire this person. This is why you're going to hire this person, because you don't want to come in like a bull in a china shop, because
Mm.
that doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
But you really have to get to know them.
I appreciate you sharing that. And as you say that, I think about the work that it takes to go through the organization and have these conversations and develop these relationships. And I think that's the part many people miss is that they get in these jobs, they meet people, and then they go to work. And they
Yeah.
forget that your part of your work is developing those relationships and
Mhm.
strengthening those partnerships within your organization or with agencies or companies that you're working with, whoever that is. But to continue to build that,
Yeah.
this is so good. I want to ask you a question around standing out. Like, how do you? I don't know. Maybe give a tip. And when I say stand out, like it seems to me like when people are trying to figure out who they want to go work for, what is something your company does that I don't know, maybe like stands out? It's like people want to come to work for your company
Mhm.
because you do this. Do y'all like invest in your employer brand? What are y'all doing to attract, I guess, talent?
Oh, all the things. I think when you're looking at an organization and evaluating, your next move as a candidate, you've got to do your homework. And so many people they'll go on LinkedIn or they'll go on Indeed and kind of mass apply to
Mm.
certain things, but they
Hmm.
don't take the time to really dig in and find out who that employer is and what they stand for. I know with Higginbotham, I was so incredibly impressed with with what we give back to our communities. So we have the Higginbotham Community Fund, and it's 100% employee driven. It's employee funds. You can do as little as, I don't know, $5 a paycheck or something like that. You can do a one-time donation. It's whatever you'd like to do. But we donate that money to communities. To all of our communities with across the nation. And so every quarter you can nominate a not-for-profit, has to be a certified 501c30, to receive these funds. And we are so incredibly generous to our communities. And it's not just the big ones, right? It's not like United Way or Goodwill or some of those big names that we see. It's like what is really making a difference in the community and what is really impacting the employees that work there. And I want to say, yeah, this number might be off, but since we started this, we've donated over $11 million to our communities that we serve. And it could be anything from an animal rescue. I know from my team, we went and we volunteered at the Humane Society, and then after that, we went to this wonderful little. It was like a little house, and we it was candle making. But and I'm drawing the blank on the name of it. I'll have to get it for you. But we made our own candles. We did all of this, and as she's telling us about the story, the employees in the back are actually women who have been unfortunately in horrible domestic violence situations, or they've been trafficked and they have been rehabilitated,
Mm,
and they're trying to gain these new skills to actually enter the workforce and enter the community to make a difference for themselves. So it's stuff like that. And it's right here in Fort Worth, in
mm,
downtown Fort Worth. It's the Worthy Co. That's the name of it.
okay.
Um, and so it's like, wow, it's like we're actually making an impact on people that we would see at the grocery store every single day. And that we do that nationwide. And it was something that just pulled at my heart. And I was like,
Mm.
yep, this identifies with me.
I love that. It's a cause. It's having a
It is.
cause,
It is.
that you really, and going back to use the word belief. I love that. I wrote that down. The power of that. This has been so good. Oh my goodness. The time just flies. I want to ask you one more question
Of
before we
course.
go to it's time to accelerate. And this question is for the listeners out there. Maybe there's somebody that's in transition
Mhm.
and you've been doing this for a long time. Was there ever any advice that you find yourself, maybe you still continue to share this today, advice you share for those who might be in transition, looking for their next? Maybe they have a job now and they're just thinking about doing something, or maybe they don't have a job and they need to do something. Anything that would help them, like, I don't know, maybe stand out on their journey to finding their next?
I mean, I think people, especially if you're working or even if you're not, like really kind of looking inside yourself before you start applying for roles and be like, what makes me get up and get out of bed in the morning
Mm,
and focus your efforts in that direction because your passion for it is going to just ooze out of you. Like I have a passion for people. My husband laughs at me all the time because he's quiet, which is funny. He's quiet, he's a little more introverted, but he's like, people like being around people, talking to people, helping other people find what they're passionate about
yeah.
lights you up. He's like,
Yeah.
I take my daughter to these birthday parties and I come home and I'm like, oh, well, so and so needs a new job and this and this and this and this. And it's just natural. And I could never see myself not doing it. And so that's something that fires me up. But other people might have different interests and things like that. So I really think before you even put your resume together, you have to find out what it is, what's your what's your why.
Mm,
And then from there, look at different roles that have transferable skills, right? If you want to get out of a certain industry, if you want to, grow your role or maybe try something new, highlight your transferable skills that could also work for that particular role. I think that's what a lot of people miss. They look at just the cold hard. They want this, they want this, they want this. Well, you might not have all of it, but you have this, and this. And so being able to sell that for yourself. And then as far as advice, so Callie and Linda over at High Profile, I take a lot from them. They had mentioned, actually, I think Linda Lee mentioned this first, and then Callie, I remember Callie saying this before. When you're negotiating, say what you need to say and then let it be. You don't need to
mm,
justify anything. You don't need to justify your whatever the case may be, but let it be, and then have that other person speak first, right? So that way you can have more of a dialogue and more of a negotiation. That's something that I have adopted. Gosh, I adopted it probably right when I first started at High Profile, like 10 years ago. And it's been gold for me ever since. So if you're in the art of negotiation or you're
mm.
negotiating anything, say what you need to say and then just let it be. And then some advice my mom gave me that I didn't realize how valuable it was until I started in the workforce is that God gave you two ears and one mouth for a reason, right? Listen
Ooh,
to what people are saying before you respond. And that's so hard to do. It's
yeah.
so incredibly hard to do. But whenever I find myself maybe in a grumpy situation or a
Mm.
tense situation, I'm like, no, someone just needs to be heard, right? So again, God give you those two ears and one mouth, and then talk last.
That's such great advice. I love that. Let it be. I wrote that down. When you said 2 ears, I was thinking about the power of listening we could have a whole conversation around that. But I think as you were talking about influence earlier, that's what you were also talking about. When you met with different people, you would listen. Like, what are their needs? How can I serve them? And listening is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can't help somebody if you don't know them. And the only way you know them is if you hear their story and you
Yeah.
hear their motivating factors. I'm a firm believer that there is a place for every single person.
Mm.
It might not be this role, but it could be this role. And if you don't take time to listen to the words that are coming out of the mouth and their meanings and their whys, you're not going to know that. You're going to have a missed opportunity.
This is so good, Sarah. Oh my goodness, I have chills. I got a
Oh,
full page of notes. I love this. Hey, let's move over to it's time to accelerate, and I'm
okay.
sure there's going to be people that are going to have questions. We'll put your links and things in the show notes if people want to connect.
Yeah.
Um, hey, what's your favorite? Like, do you like listen to books on Audible or listen to podcasts? What do you like to listen to?
Oh man, I listen to all sorts of stuff. I swing from like murder podcasts all the way to life in the leadership lane.
I love
So
it.
all of it here. I love Mel Robbins. I think
Oh,
she is a genius. I love her direct approach. I'm a really direct person.
yeah.
And so listening to her advice and her new
Mhm.
book that just came
Mm.
out is it Let Them, I believe is the title. It just resonates with me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and
Let
I love
them.
every single thing that she does. As far as books go, that is, oh gosh, what is it? It's How to Talk to Strangers
Hmm.
by Malcolm Gladwell. I
Yeah,
thought that was huge because it's so easy for me to talk to people, but it's not natural for
yeah,
99% of the world.
yeah,
And so that really helped me relate to people who don't like talking to strangers because I could talk to a wall.
yeah.
And so that one I thought was pivotal. And then let's see, Atomic Habits.
Mm.
That is another one that really stood out to me, just making sure that you're staying the course for you and that you are setting yourself up to succeed every single day. And for me as a working mom, and that I'm setting my family up to succeed every single day and building those atomic habits so that way my whole family can be running at 100% all the time.
We've went through all three of those books. Well, actually, the Robbins book coming up. We're getting ready to do that, but we've went through all those books in our climb. And Don't Talk to Strangers. That was a very interesting book. We enjoyed that in Atomic Habits. But Mel Robbins, I told a story about when I was first joined Armstrong back in 2004. I think a couple of years into it, my boss took me to a motivational speaking conference, and Mel Robbins was there, and
Oh,
she
wow.
was just getting started. And I just remember how great, like, she was a motivator. I
Yes.
remember her saying a conversation can change your life, and she all these different things. And so I've watched her career. I love her 5 second,
Mhm.
5 second rule or something like that book. But yeah, she's great. So thank you for sharing that. I'll put that in the show notes. People will want to definitely plug into that. My book, Life and Leadership Lane, my chapter, Great Leaders Are Grateful Leaders. It was a fun chapter to write. But I find a common thread that most great leaders are very grateful. What are you grateful for?
Oh man, I'm grateful to wake up every day. I think it's you have to be grateful for the little things day in, day out, because those little things just really snowball into the big things. I'm grateful for people like you that I have in my circle. I'm grateful for, opportunities that have been presented, my family. I have to say, I do have to shout out my husband because I wouldn't be able to do anything that I'm able to do without
Yeah,
him and his absolute unwavering support. And I know a lot of people don't have that. And so I'm just eternally grateful for that and just my ability to get up and do the work every day. There's so many people who don't get that. So when you go back to the granular level, I mean, just waking up every day.
that's awesome. I love that. I'm grateful for you coming on to the show today, Sarah.
Thank you
Hey,
for having me.
okay, we talked about your energy. What energizes you? And it can be something around work, but maybe it's something that you do as a hobby. What's something that really makes you go?
Oh man, well, I love music. I'm a music buff. I
Mm,
love all kinds of music.
mm.
My friends always joke if I send them a song to listen to, they're like, we have no idea what's going to come from you." Primarily country music, 90s country, Texas country. But I mean, I've listened to Selena and Tejano music and classical music and all of that. So
Mm.
hearing music and just hearing someone's God-given ability and their ability to make those wonderful sounds and put those lyrics together just jazzes me up. I don't know what it is about it. I have no musical talent at all, but I guess maybe I'm jealous of it. So that and just having an able body. I'm a big. I like to run and work out every
Yeah.
day, and just being able to move and do that, I think is wonderful. And me and my family, my kids are hilarious, and so getting to see them at the end of the day and having them be my motivating people. I mean, my
Yeah.
daughter always tells me, she's like, well, when I grow up, I'm going to be a CEO. I was
Mm.
like, I love that, babe. I was
Mm.
like, what do you know what that means? And she's like, I don't know, the head of everyone. Okay, go get it, girl.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Okay, final question. Sarah, 10 years older. She's
Mhm.
around the corner and she's knocking at your front door, and you're going to go answer that door. What's she going to tell you?
Oh man, 10 years older. She's like, stay the path. Whatever you do,
Mm.
make sure you stay your path. You found what you're passionate about. You found it, right? A lot of people go through their whole life and they haven't found their it. I've been fortunate enough that I have. And so she's going to tell me to stay the path. And she's also going to probably reiterate what my mom told me, that God gave you 2 ears and one mouth
Mm.
for a
Keep
reason.
using them.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, I think that would probably be the main thing, just and to stay true to yourself. I think a lot of people get caught up, I know I have in the past of
Mhm.
trying to be everything to everyone, and you lose
Yeah,
yourself when you're going through this journey. And just I think she would tell me to just be you, whatever you would, and if that's good enough for people, that's great. That those are your people. And if it's not, then they're not your people.
that's a wise 10 years older Sarah Stoub. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. I know there's so much that you shared today that is going to resonate with people. I love that. Stay the path and stay true to yourself. I read a book. When you said that, it reminded me of I think it was called The Coaching Habit. And it basically said when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Mhm.
And I've gotten really better about saying no to things so I can say yes to other things and staying true to myself. And so this has been good. I know man, this has been so good. Okay. So if someone heard something you shared today, or maybe they watch you on the YouTube and they're like, hey, I want to get to know Sarah more. I want to learn from her. What's the best way for someone to, I don't know, follow you or connect with you?
Oh, absolutely. I would love it. I welcome all connections. You can email me directly at sstaub@higginbotham.net. I'm always in front of an email in some way, shape, or form. And then also on LinkedIn. I think it's great to grow your network. Your network is your net worth, and
Mm.
I would love the opportunity to connect with anybody.
Yeah, I love that. And if you reach out and when you reach out and connect with Sarah, be sure and let her know you heard her on Life in the Leadership Lane. Let her know something she shared that impacted you, and it will make that connection so much better. Sarah, I appreciate you so much. You shared so much today. I appreciate your wisdom and your perspective. I know it's going to help a lot of people, but mostly I appreciate your friendship. So thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was so wonderful when you reached out to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I've made it. I'm going to be on Bruce's
I,
podcast.
I
I
made
so
it.
appreciate you taking time.
You're welcome. All right. Talk to you later.